We're with Martin Biron now. So, Marty, no Scheifele for at least Game 6. How big of a problem is this for the Jets?
It's a huge problem. Look, I mean, you lose your best player, your number one center, and this is going to be on the road, and you need to be able to play the match game when you have Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou on the St. Louis Blues that can really get hot and get going. So you need everybody on board. This has been a very tight series, back and forth. And if you don't have Nick Ehlers already, and Gabe Vilardi's only been back for one game, and now you're losing Mark Scheifele on top of it, like you are behind what the Blues can put on the ice. So obviously this is huge. But not only is it huge for Game 6, it will be huge for, potentially a Game 7 or the next round, because obviously we don't know what the status of Mark Scheifele is going to be. And even if he's not 100%, like you need everybody to be able to play at their top level, to be able to compete in the Stanley Cup Finals. So in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I should say. So, yeah, this is huge and a big problem for the Winnipeg Jets because they don't have a number one center that can play like Mark Scheifele can.
No, he's been such an X factor all season long. Now, the coaches really jawed back and forth about how and when Scheifele was injured. The league, they haven't been shy to suspend players in these playoffs, but there's no suspension coming for Brayden Schenn. So do you think the Blues got lucky there?
I think they got lucky because Mark Scheifele could have easily left the game and gone right to the locker room. And now if the Scheifele hit happens where Schenn hits Scheifele and then Scheifele leaves at that moment, then we're thinking about an injury. And maybe we're looking at this and saying there may be a suspension. Look, there was an injury to, Hagel when Ekblad came in and hit him in the head. So what? Ekblad gets 2 games. Hagel was very, very impactful. There was a lot of force, and Barkov never had the puck on that one. So that's why there was a 1-game suspension. But I compared this Schenn hit on Scheifele the same way Tkachuk was on Jake Gensel. Look, Tkachuk was given a 5. Schenn could have easily been given a 5 in that situation, but there was no supplemental discipline. There was no, suspension because it didn't seem to follow the pattern of a suspension because there wasn't an injury on the play. Well, if Mark Scheifele had left the game after the hit, I think we'd be talking about a 1-game suspension. Now, Scheifele continued to play in the first period, and I don't think Scheifele or the Jets want to say, hey, we're going to play the injury game to get people suspended. So he continued to play because that's who he is. But if he had left right after the hit, we would be talking about a 1-game suspension for sure.
Okay, well, let's look ahead now. With no Scheifele for Game 6, who do you think needs to step up the most for the Jets?
Obviously, I'm going to look at the middle position, the center position. I think Nemestikov is going to have to step up. Look, he had a huge goal in Game 5, right? And that is what you need. But the Jets have Scheifele as a number one center. And then, at the trade deadline, we talked about what did the Jets need? They probably need a second-line center. They didn't go there. They felt like, well, Nemestikov can do it. And if we have to elevate Lowry, we can elevate Adam Lowry into a second-line spot. But right now, without Scheifele, it leaves you with a big hole in the middle of the ice. So, yes, I'm going to look at Nemestikov to say you have to step up. You have to produce. You have to take a spot on the power play. And you have to play well in all aspects of the game because that's what Scheifele brings on the ice in all 3 zones.
Yeah, he really does. Okay, well, for Winnipeg's record, without Scheifele this season, there actually is no record. Game 6 will be his first missed game of the season.